Good afternoon. In this session, I would like to present data mining functionalities. So before that, we should learn what is data mining. Data mining is represent extracting or mining knowledge from large data or large data set. So before the mining, so we try to find what kind of data is there, what kind of patterns we need to analyze. So when we are going to performing these functions, we need to know some of the data mining functionality, how to find the kinds of patterns to be found in this data mining task. Actually, data mining task is categorized or classified into two broad way. One is called as descriptive, another one is called as predictive. Descriptive mining task characterize the general property of the data in the database, not specific property, general properties. Predictive mining tasks perform inferences on the current data in order to make a prediction. So that is called as a predictive mining task. Why? Because the users may have no idea regarding the patterns in the data. Data mining system can mine multiple kinds of pattern to accommodate different users' expectations, and it also allow the user to specify hints to guide or focus the search for interesting patterns. So now we are going to find that different kinds of interesting patterns in the large data set by applying the following six functionalities in their unique ways. The first one, characterization and discriminations of data in the data set. Second one, mining a frequent pattern, association and correlation. Third one, classification and prediction. Fourth one, cluster analysis. Fifth one, outlier analysis. And sixth one, evolution analysis. Using those functionality applied to the large data set, we would like to find the interesting patterns. Now, we are going to say in detail about how to apply the find the characterizations and discriminations. Before that, you should know how the data should be associated with the classes or concepts. Classes, in the sense, simply we are representing the classes of items of a particular shop. Take as example, system peripherals. So computers, printers, scanners, that is considered the classes of items. Concept of customers, whether he is a big spender or budget spender, that is the concept of customers. So it could be useful to describe the individual classes and concept in a summarized form. Using this initial steps of the class and concept description, we could have an idea how we are going to represent the characterization and discriminations of targeted classes. So data characterization is simply summarizing general characteristics of targeted classes of data. That is, for example, general characteristics of targeted class of data. So trying to find summarizing the characteristics of customers who spend more than $1,000 per year. So at particular all electronic shop. So its result is contain general profiles of the customers. It's contain customer age and then employed and then what about credit rate. So these are all the general characteristics of that customer. That is called as the general characteristics of target class of data. Data discrimination is a comparing target class with one or set of comparative classes. Here, data discrimination is a comparison of general features of the target class data object with general features of general with objects to one or more contrasting classes. For example, here we are going to find comparing the general features of software product whose sales increased by 10% in the last year and with those whose sales decreased by 30% in the same period. We are comparing the whole sales, whose sales increased 10% among the total sales, and the same period we try to find those whole sales is decreased by 30%. Because this is a way we are going to comparing two targeted classes, that is comparing two targeted classes. And second one, we are going to mining of frequent patterns, association, and correlations. So mining frequent patterns, so ultimately we are finding an interest in patterns. So mining frequent patterns, that is mining frequent pattern that is represented in three different ways. One is finding frequent items. Finding frequent items is a set of items that are frequently appear in a transaction. That is frequently appear together in a transaction. Data. So that is milk and bread and jam. So that kind of items representing as a frequent item set. Frequent subsequence, a pattern that a customer tend to purchase a product that is milk followed by purchase a product bread. So that is what is a frequent subsequence. That is the customers who tends to buy a product one after another or follow one after buy one product and followed by purchase another product. So that is called as a frequent subsequence. Structure in the sense that these are the way we are going to mining the patterns, frequent item set analysis, frequent subsequent analysis, and substructure analysis. A substructure refer to different structural form, maybe in the form of graph or trees. If a substructure occur frequently, that is called a structured pattern because ultimately we are finding the interesting patterns. If the substructure occur frequently, then it is called as frequent structured patterns. So many frequent patterns which leads to discovery of interesting association and correlation within the data. And third data mining functionality, finding association analysis. So how to find the associations? After finding the frequent patterns, for example, we are going to how to find the association analysis. Either we are going to finding the association, we are going to implement association rules. So how to determine the association rule using single dimensional association or multiple dimensional association rule. So association rule is simply a sample analysis results, whether we are going to using a single attribute or more than one attributes. If you are going to using only one attribute, then it is represented as it is denoted as a single dimensional association rules. For example, buy a customer X, buy a computer, then there is a possibility to buy a software also. It is represented by the support and confidence measures of association rule. That is, we are considered only a one dimension bias. So when you are going to consider more than one dimension for finding the patterns or analysis, then we are going to use more than one dimension. For example, age. The customer X, age between 20 to 29, and his income between 20,000 to 29,000. Then there is a possibility to buy CD player. So what does the support that and confidence? So these are all the metrics measures of association rule. So association rule is also to find the frequent patterns by applying association rules. So association rules are discorded and interesting patterns if they not satisfy minimum support and minimum confidence threshold. Next one, we try to find that correlation analysis. Correlation analysis, so additional analysis to find the statistical correlation between the associated pairs. So in order to identify the association between two items or associated pairs. So next one, and then next one we are going to find classification, prediction. Classification and predictions. So these are the another functionality to find the interesting patterns. So classification is a process of finding a model or a function that describe or distinguish data classes or concept for the purpose of being able to use the model to predict the classes of an object whose class label is unknown. Ninth thing, we predict the classes of an object, class labels whose class label is unknown. So the derived model is based on that analysis of set of training data. Training data in the sense the object, data object in the training data whose class label is known. So the model is derived based on the analysis of set of training data. So this model can be represented in a classification by using if-then rules or decision tree or neural networks. So the decision tree, we know each node represent or denote a test on an attributes, and each branch represent an outcomes of the test, and the tree leaves represent the classes or class attributes. So that is after finding that after using the classification decision tree or classify if the rules or neural network, we try to classify the large data set into seven smaller data. So that is the one way to find the patterns. Prediction. Prediction in the sense predict or unavailable numerical data values. Predict the missing or unavailable numerical data values. So the classification mostly applicable for categorical data. That is not the numerical data. But the predictions is applicable only for numerical data to find missing or unavailable numerical data that can be predicted by using prediction. So this is for example, representing if-then rules. So if the customer X is you and his income is high, then there is a possibility to buy a product A. Similarly, if the customer is youth and the income is low, then he is able to buy product B. If the customer is middle aged, then there is possibility to buy product C. If he is a senior, then there is a possibility to buy product C. So the same if the rules it can be represented in the form of decision tree as well as in the form of neural network. So the age, what is the age? The attributes are tested in the node. So attributes, the age may be youth or middle age or senior. If it is youth, then we are going to check his income with another attributes, another node. If the income is high, then there is a possibility to buy a product A, otherwise he belongs to class B. So that is we are going to determine this is a classification. We are going to predict the class label of this customers belongs to either class label A or class label B or class label C. That can be predicted by using the classification algorithm, the rules or decision tree, or we are going to using neural networks. Next, we are going to find data mining functionality using cluster analysis. Cluster analysis, we are going to clusters of objects are formed based on the principles of maximizing inter-cluster similarity, intra-cluster similarity, and minimizing inter-cluster similarity. So that is the main basic point for the classification, the principles of maximizing intra-class similarity and minimize the inter-class similarities. So class label of each tuples is unknown. The group of data to form a new classes. We are going to form a new classes. The object in those class have similar features. So comparatively, we are going to compare the object in another classes. Definitely objects from two different classes. They are taken as a class A and class B. So these objects from class A completely have a different features that is dissimilar from object B. So we are going to find identify the homogeneous or heterogeneous features by applying the cluster analysis. So this is for representing the clusters features of object in the particular clusters. simply representing grouping of data or group data to form a new classes. So all objects in those class have a similar features. So basic principles: maximizing the intra-class similarity, minimize the inter-class similarity. So what is the basic idea to pattern the data in the large data set? Next one, we are going to find one more concept: outlier analysis. It should be mainly used the data do not comply with the general behaviors or do not comply with the general models. Mainly, it is used that are outlier or used discord as noisy or expected exceptions. And that is, it is very useful for finding the fraud detection. So detect the purchase of extremely large amount. Take this example for any grocery store. So each every day we will find the transaction. The balance should be most probably 1,000 to 50,000. Suppose one of the customers they are buying 5 lakhs for different kind of purchasing different kind of items. So that is considered as a fraud detection. So detect the purchase of extremely large amount. So this is also used to find the outlier data. So that is useful for finding the fraud detections. So that after finding that, it is possible to discard the data as a noisy or exceptions, right? Because if you're analyzing the entire data, some of the data may be okay, some of the data comes under some classifications, some of the data should be forms one single cluster because of based on some similar features. Next one, evolution analysis. Evolution analysis actually describe and model the regularities, trends for the object whose behavior changes over time. Describes and model the regularities for an object whose behavior change over time. So, for a take this example, the regularity may that is identified as a stock evolution regularity for overall stocks and for the stocks of particular companies. In a very good example, the regularity may be held predict the future trends in stock market prices, contributing your decision making regarding the stock investment. So, for example, stock investment, that is if the in stock market the rate of share does rise within seconds, within a minutes, either increase or decrease. In that scenario, the initial analysis which will be very helpful to analyze the stock market price and then take a decision regarding whether to invest in the stock market or not investing into the stock market, not may not make investment. So these kind of analysis also, which is very useful to find the patterns in the large data set. So using those patterns, so why we are applying these patterns? So these patterns should be helpful to analyze the large data and take decisions of how to classify the data, how to cluster the data, how we are finding the associations among those data, how to determine the characterizations and discriminations of data in the large data set and predicting the outlier, the evolutions of take a decision, final decision whether to invest or not to make a investment into the stock market. And then we try to find that these kind of patterns can be identified by applying this data mining functionality in the large data set. We can use it to find the patterns in the database. Thank you.